Hello my friends. I feel very heavily inspired to start a new design. I've been putting it off for like a week, so I feel like today I just need to jump into it head first. I kind of need to walk you guys through what I'm thinking, what the game plan is, and then the yarn that I'm going to use, and then we can move into physically crafting this new design. Now, for about 2 months or so, I've had this design in my head, and over several weeks, I've tried to do a handful of different gauge swatching. I had this really fun idea of crocheting a cardigan, but with a little bit of a twist. I want the buttons to be like off center. So instead of having a top like kind of like this, I want it to open like at the side. Groundbreaking, I know, but that's kind of like the initial vision that I had. Now I also want this pattern to be either like a sleeveless like vest option, but I also want to be able to add on sleeves. I made my first swatch on like a number 2 sport weight, but this is what it looks like, I believe, when I use I want to say a 4.0 hook. The best way I can describe this pattern is, to me, it kind of looks like a flower bud and then like leaf stems coming off of the flower. Like right here we have this like fluffy kind of like bobble stitch, and then by creating these chains, it almost kind of emulates to me like, I don't know, do you guys see it? Like a flower stem. So this is the initial design that I've been kind of playing around with, drafting with. It might be too flimsy for like a cardigan. I think it needs like a little bit more structure. And I decided to go with a number 3 DK. I think that this is truly stunning. Granted, this yarn is a lot deeper in color, so it's kind of hard to see like the little lacy moments. I just think that this one looks a little bit prettier. It's just so much easier to see because the yarn is so much lighter colored. Now, last week I dyed up this yarn, one of my favorite colorways for my shop. This is Stop and Smell the Hydrangeas, and obviously she's giving like garden-esque vibes, very ethereal. So I thought that this color hopefully will translate really well onto the pattern that I have in mind. I mean, at this point, it's a little bit too late. We're about to find out. So at this point, I can kind of just jump into it. I can start creating it. In all reality, I'm probably gonna frog this project like 5-6 times, but we gotta start somewhere. So first things first, I need to cake up at least one of these. Without further ado, we will commence the pattern drafting of a really fun spring and summer inspired design. The lighting looks really good in here right now. I actually wanted to film this little update because I did get started on the sideways cardigan project, and even though I only have a little bit of work, I kind of just wanted to show you guys how the colorway was working up and also how the stitch definition is looking so far. Last minute I decided to size up to a 5.5. Originally my swatch was done on a 5, but I felt like it was a little bit too tight, so we're kind of seeing what it's looking like worked up, just a little bit more loose, not as much tension on the yarn. I also last minute decided to kind of change up the pattern. Initially I was only working with 2 rows of double crochet between these 2 like chain rows, but then I felt like it wasn't quite enough, so I decided to tack on an extra row of double crochet just so that there's like this really obvious block of dense stitches, and then we're going to start to move into the lacy stitch. I will admit I have already frogged this once. I feel like with a lot of my creations, I end up making everything like cropped, micro, tiny. I kind of wanted to make this pattern a little bit more, I don't want to say long line, but I just want it to look a little bit longer on me. So I kind of have it measured up right underneath like my collarbones or like my neckline. And then as you can see, she is a little bit more full length this time. So I kind of have this measured up right on like the outer edge of my neck, where I kind of want the top to be buttoned up. Yeah, I want it to be like this, and then like this, and then like that. I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite all-time colorways that I've ever created. Now that my morning routine has for the most part been completed, I'm just gonna enjoy my coffee and get back to crocheting my newest project. So good. I'm still drinking my everyday dose. I'm learning that wearing my glasses is kind of like a necessity. Like I can't see things quite as clearly anymore. I guess this is just the new norm. Maybe I should find a new optometrist and get myself like some new frames. That way I actually feel like I want to wear them. Like these aren't bad. I've had them for a minute. I think I just want to like change it up. Jumping back into this crochet project, I do have to say that we shouldn't be surprised at this point that I already had to frog the entire front panel. I got really close to finishing up a majority of it. So as I was kind of like imagining this being a buttoned up top and giving it a little bit of stretch, like a little bit of tension, I was really noticing just how see-through the stitches were, and then also just how much the lace portions get stretched out. So I made the last minute decision to frog the entire panel, and instead of using I believe I was using a 5.5, I ended up sizing down a whole hook size, so I'm using a 4.5, and so far I think that it looks a lot better. I didn't want these lacy sections to be too gaping, like too wide. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but by sizing down my hook, my lace rows have almost gotten like a little bit more definition. I've been in the midst of prepping for my first ever outdoor market where I'm going to be vending and selling my hand-dyed fibers. So naturally that means that for the last like 2 weeks I've been dyeing yarn almost every single day, just trying to build up this inventory. And now I'm starting to go like a little bit stir crazy. I don't want to say burnt out, but I'm starting to like approach that area where I'm like, I need a break from this. I need to exercise other parts of my creative brain. So I'm going to jump into this right now, try to get a little bit more progress and addition onto this front panel. And then hopefully once there's a little bit more substance, I can kind of jump back on and show you guys how it's coming together. It is officially at this point in the project where I feel like I'm starting to go a little bit crazy, but I've just finished reworking the back and the 2 front panels. I was stuck in a battle of clusters versus bobbles, but I decided to rework everything with the cluster stitches because as much as I like the bobbles, when this gets a little bit of stretch to it, I feel like it just doesn't quite look how I want it to. Yeah, back panel has been reworked, as well as, gosh, I have string everywhere. The large front panel, and then we also have the smaller front panel, which kind of looks silly as it is. I think we kind of just have to trust the vision and trust the process. But obviously I've been a little bit hyper focused on this project, and I think I deserve a little bit of a break right now. We have a little bit of July gloom going on, but I was just outside and it's still pretty warm and humid and the sun is kind of like going in and out. Let's get ready together to head outside. I think I'm gonna pack a little go bag. This is honestly like my everyday bag. This is my baggy bag. Gotta bring the Hydro Flask because we always have to stay hydrated. My Trader Joe's sparkling water. Freaking love this stuff. I think I'm also gonna bring some popcorn for a quick snack. I've also been making a little bit more of an intention to read almost every single day, and I gotta tell you, I really enjoy my little reading breaks. So the 2 books that I currently have on rotation, the first one is Frank Herbert's Dune. I can't believe I took so long to start this, but I've really been enjoying this one. And then the second one, I've only read a few pages in this, but I'm thinking I should pick this up again. This is James Clear's Atomic Habits. And because I'm bringing my books, I'm gonna need my glasses. Where are my glasses? Which one should I bring today? Which one is the vibe? Up until recently, I've had kind of this like love-hate relationship with my reading frames where I know I should be wearing my glasses a lot more often than I am, but I kind of feel like I've outgrown my older frame styles and they just don't really suit me anymore. Until I found these 2 different frames on Vooglam, I feel so much more motivated to wear my glasses because look how stunning they are. They kind of give me like a little bit more attitude, a little bit more sass. I feel a lot more confident in frames like these. These are their Naoya frames. They have a slight cat eye effect. I like that it kind of like draws, almost like extends my eyes upwards, so they kind of look a little bit bigger. They're also made out of premium acetate, which means that they're really lightweight, like they don't feel heavy. These are the siren frames. But because the frames are a little bit chunkier and we have this gold chain detailing on the legs, they're kind of blending vintage with a modern take, which keeps them a little bit more trendy, a little bit more in style. And the prescription glasses come with blue light protection to help support your screen heavy lifestyle, because let's be real, a lot of us are in front of the computer or our cell phones like every single day. So I think today we're gonna go with the Naoya frames, but I kind of want to try them on with like a slightly different outfit. Maybe the white will make the glasses pop. My little willow top, this is my newest crochet top, but I like how the black actually stands out a little bit more with this white. Because it's a little bit gloomy, I think I'm gonna throw on my crochet poncho. This might be the look. I feel very modern. This is not really a look I've ever really attempted before. All right, I got my books, I got my bag, I got my keys with my cute crochet friend on her. Final fit check before we head out the door. But if you guys are interested in checking out Vooglam, I will have a discount code for you guys. You can click the link down below in the description for some extra coinage off. And thank you again to Vooglam for sponsoring today's video. I genuinely love these glasses and I hope that you guys do too. Okay, we have a little bit more progress on the sideways cardi. I just spent the last few minutes seaming together underneath the arms and then across the shoulder sections. I kind of just want to see how it's looking. I'm going to do one last try on and then we can kind of reassess where to go from there. It is a little bit tighter than I was expecting. Maybe I also should have blocked the panels first to give it a little bit more stretch. I can also just steam block this once I'm done, but at the moment it does look a little bit funky, so please just kind of like bear with me. So here we have that side seam. I think it looks pretty good. The neckline's looking not too shabby. I was honestly also planning on going in either with a basic stitch or some kind of detailed stitch and then adding a little bit of a border or like a trim to the neckline, just because I don't want it to be too square or boxy. I think I kind of want to like round out these corners a little bit and give it more of a scoop neck feel. And then other than that, I just need to crochet on, I think maybe like one more row on the larger panel just to add the buttonholes. I'm really just planning on hand sewing on some of the buttons that I have along this part of the cardi. Yeah, it is looking a little bit more tight fitting than I was planning. I also do want this to kind of extend down a little bit further. So maybe I can also make another version in the very near future that is a little bit wider, a little bit more casual fit instead of something that is so form-fitting like this. Yeah, I kind of have my work cut out for me, but we're kind of nearing the finish line. Hoping to have the sideways cardi finished up in the next handful of days, and I hope that you guys have really been enjoying this kind of like creative process video so far. I think it's always really helpful to hear from other designers how their brain works and what they're thinking as they're designing different elements. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that we all kind of think and process things so differently from each other. I hope this kind of helped to give you guys a little bit more insight into my process, and very curious to hear your thoughts on this. This has been a fun one. Okay, fingers crossed that this is the last and final update. I think I can say that this project is mostly complete minus the ends that I still have to weave in. I ended up re-seaming both of the side seams because I felt like they were a little bit too tight with my whip stitch, and because I am still planning on blocking this, I wanted to make sure that there was like enough room for stretch, and hopefully when I block it now, you see there's like a little bit more wiggle room. So I'm glad that I got that done. I also just attached on these really gorgeous green iridescent buttons. I'm so glad that I didn't use these for my other project that I had a few months back, because I think that the like lime green iridescence really complements like the darker mossy green colors. I do have like buttonholes. They're pretty invisible, but I think I'm gonna try it on here so you guys can have like the full vision of what the sideways cardi is gonna look like. So at the moment, I've only attached on 4 of the buttons because I thought it could be an option to like just not have them the full length of the top, but I do still have 2 other buttons, so I might attach them in the event that I want to like fully attach the panel to the other side. But as I was telling you guys earlier, I kind of like this little split side seam. Yeah, I think she still needs a really good steam blocking, so I'm definitely gonna have to like lay this out on a mat and give her just a little bit of a stretch. On the neckline as well, I decided to go in and add, I think like 3 rows of single crochet so I can kind of like round out that square neckline. Not crazy though about how this like collar edge is folding in. Hopefully like a steam will kind of fix that issue. But I'm actually really proud of how my execution turned out on this side button band. I don't know, just something a little bit different. Also still debating if I should add some kind of like trim or something to the bottom of this top because I have that trim along the neckline. I don't know if it looks funny without it on the bottom or if I should kind of just like leave it as it is. I am going to open up the forms for pattern testers, so if you guys are interested, if anybody out there is interested in pattern testing the sideways cardi, you can totally fill out the form, and hopefully in like the next week or 2 we can start the pattern testing phase. But I'm really happy with this and excited to hear your thoughts on the top as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.